Hi, I'm Marie Elizabeth Molly, and this is Relationship Alchemy. Today, we're talking about getting in alignment to receive your soulmate with Dr. Pamela Moss. Dr. Moss is the author of the #1 international bestseller, The Soul Guide to a Magical Life, and the host of the Blockbuster show. For 17 years, she's used her proprietary soul alignment system to help coaches, healers, and consultants worldwide up-level their mindset and dramatically grow their income, impact, and leadership. Welcome to the show, Pamela.
Thank you. I am really thrilled to be here today.
I'm so happy we get to have this conversation because you and I have worked together in the past, and I just adore you and love your work.
Likewise.
And so, yay, thank you. So I'm super psyched to share you with my audience.
Yeah, wonderful.
So what are the keys to getting in alignment? I love your perspective.
Yeah. So I want to actually sort of back up a bit and tell some stories about this because to make it really vivid for people. So a lot of times we think we're ready for a new partner. We're like, go out dating and do all the things you do, but we just seem to be not finding who we want, or we feel kind of depleted or whatever. So sometimes it feels like it's hard to actually connect with the right person. And what's going on when it's hard to connect with the right person is you have some inner resistance to actually being ready to be in a relationship. And I first realized this working with a client of mine. I'll call her name is Ruth, but I won't say anything else about her name. And she came to me actually because she wanted to lose this band of fat around her middle. She said, I've done everything I can. I've exercised, I've dieted, I've done so much stuff. It just doesn't go anywhere. I've actually had more than one person have this exact problem. And we decided to talk to the fat around her, like as if it were a person, to see why is it so persistently staying there. And it was really clear. It said, Ruth is not ready for a relationship. The last relationship she was in was abusive. And if she doesn't have really clear standards for how to recognize when someone is going to be a bad fit for her, it's not safe for her to date. So we're making sure she doesn't date. Like it's that simple. She cannot move forward until she really gets super clear about the warning signs. And we can help her become clear about that, but she's absolutely got to have that in place or that is on for good.
That's so amazing. And I want to just, talk about this idea because I also do this kind of work where we talk to a part of the self or a part of the body. Yeah. It's so powerful. But can you say a little bit, in case someone's not familiar with parts work, can you say a little bit about what that work is?
Sure. It's really just allowing your imagination and your intuition to guide you to imagine, feel, sense, hear, whatever, what some aspect of you that's not fully conscious has to say. So it could be like your inner critic, or it could be a band of fat around your middle, or it could be a disease, or it could be your inner child. It could be, you take all kinds of different forms, but it's a really powerful way to be able to distinguish what you think and then what's deeper beneath that wants to be heard and needs to be heard for you to move forward. So it's just a way to sort of tap into that, and it's actually amazingly easy for people to do. I used to think I really pretty much never worked with almost anybody. Maybe one guy I remember who was super, super logical and just couldn't use his imagination or intuition. But almost everybody is able to do this. I tell them it's just kind of like, getting into character for a part if you're going to be an actor. Like maybe you need to put your hands on your fist to feel like you're in character, or pull the covers over your head, or whatever. Just connect with it. But it's pretty much everybody can do this, even though it sounds really weird.
No, that's been my experience too. I do this with my clients, and even if they've never heard of it or done it before, I've found it's really easy for them to drop in and actually get some surprisingly clear information from whatever, if we're talking to their fear or their resistance, or like you said, a part of them that's like blocking relationship, you can get so much insight. So, okay, keep going. What's the next part?
So that's a really important part. And that Carl Jung first introduced that to the Western world, but actually people in traditional shamanic cultures everywhere around the world know how to do this intuitively. It's just like a part of our heritage as human beings, is to know how to do this kind of deep work. So that's a big part of it. And then there's, you can actually do whatever inner work you like. So okay, I'll tell you from my story. So I actually met my soulmate on my first date in 29 years. And of course, 28 of those years I was married. but when I was finally ready, after my former husband and I separated, which we managed to do with love and mutual respect, which is a lot of work, let me tell you. but we're really proud of it.
No small feat.
No small feat at all to get to go from deep resentment to mutual love and respect and compassion. But we did that. And then for 6 months, I didn't want to date anybody. I felt like I'd never on my whole adult life lived on my own without somebody. Like, I need to really do that. And at the end of the 6 months, I thought, okay, I'm ready to actually have my soulmate. I've been waiting for I hoped my husband could be my soulmate. And of course, he taught me so much in that way. He is a soulmate, but I wanted somebody who was aligned with me. And like my former husband, really, we grew more and more apart as time went on. And I became truer and truer to myself. He would never, I knew on a deep level, I put away the aspects of myself that I didn't think he would like when I met him when I was 22. The spiritual part of me, because I thought he's the one. I want to have babies with him. He's the one. And after 20 or so years, I those parts of me just came bursting out again. My intuition was right. He would never have married me if he knew that was a big part of me.
Wow.
And I deceived both of us really by putting that, my spiritual aspect away, because it's a huge part of who I am. So what I did, though, in those 6 months when I wanted to have a soulmate and I wasn't ready, and I knew I wasn't ready. I'd actually done alignment work a long time ago to be ready to have a soulmate, but I wasn't ready to receive it like right now. And I was asking myself why. And I came up with all these inner obstacles I was creating, like, oh, I can't find anybody in our town. I know everybody and they're all the good ones are gone, or another obstacle I had was I won't be able to say no. Like I don't want to hurt people's feelings. And another obstacle I had is I don't want to go to bars and date. I just want him to show up. I had all these objections that I had to presence to see like the resistance that I had. And I basically negotiated with myself to get really super clear about how I could handle those objections, because they were important objections. And then I just did a little bit more work. I learned this powerful practice when you're really ready to call in your soulmate. There's this Hawaiian breath practice where you can do it, where you actually, maybe I'll just share it right now because it's an amazing thing.
Yes,
so you only do this when you're absolutely ready to receive them now. So there's no more inner resistance. And then the practice is you imagine, you sense, feel that your beloved is somewhere out in the world. And maybe they're, 2,000 miles away. Maybe they're 500, meters away. I don't know, but whatever they are, you get a sense of how far away they are, and then you send love and tenderness and joy, all these energies to them, and you imagine and see and sense that they're over there wherever they are, and you can start to, if you're a woman, breathe them into your vagina and actually breathe them up through your heart and out, like in this cycle of energy. And if you're a man, I think it goes the other direction. You imagine coming out of your penis into them and whatever. So it's this energy practice, and then every day you continue that, and you feel them coming closer and closer and closer. And I did it till I could feel like he was right in front of me, like just like right in front of me. Like if I could see him, we'd be looking eye to eye. And at that point I knew, okay, well, now I need to just send up a flare, like, so he can find me, because like we're right here. And I got the inspiration to make a profile on eHarmony. And I made it super clear, like I was as woo as I am. I did not hold back at all. Like, this is who I am. Is this what I'm looking for? I was super clear. And Mark, my now partner, answered it right away along with some other men. And after we went back and forth for a little while, we were ready to have our first date. And I hadn't dated, like I said, in 29 years. So I asked friends of mine, like, what do you do? Like, I don't even know what to do. And they said, well, go to a public place and make it for a meal that's not very important, like breakfast or something, or coffee. And, they sort of walked me through it. And we did that, and we came together and we met, and it was such chemistry right away, like so amazing. I kept thinking, oh my God, he's so simpatico, oh, he's so handsome, he's so awesome. And he walked me home along this creek where I lived. And this part may be shocking for your readers, I hope not, your listeners, but we got to the door and we kissed. And I walked into my apartment and I was like, oh my God, I am dripping. Like my body was like, wow, hell yeah.
Yeah, like a total yes.
Yes, like my body was like not at all ambivalent in the tiniest bit. And the next day was my birthday. And I thought, wow, like I had a party with my daughters and my women friends. And I thought, what, there's this ecstatic dance I wanted to go to after that. And I wanted to invite Mark to come up. He lived an hour away from me. And I wasn't quite sure that I wanted to ask him, like, part of me was like, go, play it cool, girlfriend. You just met him. But I was like, it's my birthday, to hell with that. I'm just going to ask him.
And
he's
cool.
exactly. And he said, I would absolutely love to come up for your ecstatic dance party. And, but it's starting at 10, it goes till 1. I don't really want to have to drive home that late. So could I crash on a couch or something? And he was being very gentlemanly. And I was thinking, I've been celibate for 6 months. I've been waiting a long time. Hell yes, you can come out.
Yes.
And then here's the thing: when we met on this dance floor, this huge dark dance floor, lights and DJs spinning, and we found each other and we just embraced and hugged and just sort of were moving like in this flow state. And the next thing we knew, the lights were on, everybody was sitting down the corner in a circle, and we're like, what happened? And we spent 2 hours like so immersed in each other's energy. It was like we didn't know. And my friends were there trying to give me birthday cards and trying to I just was in a bubble with Mark.
Wow.
And then that night he came back to my place and he said, listen, there's something I've got to tell you before we go ahead. And it could be a deal breaker. Other women have said it's a deal breaker. And I really hope it's not, because I like you so, so much. But I've got to tell you this. And I said, okay, what is it? And he said, I was not faithful in my marriage. I actually cheated on my wife twice. I had 2 affairs. That's a deal breaker. I just have to get it out there. And for me, though, the whole thing I wanted, and one of the things that I strongly recommend if you're looking for a soulmate, is you get super, super, super clear about what is it you want to feel when you're with them. Like this is the essence of what the relationship is. And what I was so hungry for was deep intimacy.
Yes.
And I recognized when Mark told me this very vulnerable information, like, that's what I'm talking about.
Yes, that's intimacy.
That's intimacy, exactly. I was like, oh, that just confirms you're the right one.
Exactly.
And we knew really from pretty much the first meeting with us, when he walked me down the creek, we kept looking at each other like, is that really you? Like, there you are again, isn't it? Like, we just knew we'd known each other for the longest time, many lifetimes. And I had a picture that held the essence of what I wanted, intimacy. And it was a picture of Krishna and Radha, these Hindu gods, walking in the garden with flowers. And they're just gazing at each other, this incredible, intense adoration. Like that's what I want, that intimacy. And we were literally doing that. I thought later, that's so wild. We were literally doing that deep gaze of intimacy. Yeah. So
how gorgeous.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's continued. I mean, it's been challenging. Not say there aren't challenges, but it's been also incredibly divine. Like from the very beginning, we knew it was. And that was because we did the deep work, both of us separately. He actually was celibate he just had to be celibate for 6 months too. He said, I just keep running to women who just want to be friends. Like, clearly I'm not ready.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we
so
kind
gorgeous.
of met together. Yeah. But that's the power of being aligned, is when there's no more inner resistance and you're really ready to receive this person or to meet them, however you want to think about it, then they're the same vibe as you. Like, it's not hard for them to meet up with you. There's no, the universe arranges things in such a perfect way that the right person is there when you're ready. At least that's my experience.
Yeah, that's my experience too. I mean, different story, but similar kind of feeling with Patrick. We met in a very unorthodox way and kind of approached our relationship quite slowly. But with us, there is this attunement and alignment that's deeper than the external kind of circumstances of our lives. And that was felt pretty quickly. And that it just sort of became this like, well, how do we arrange the outside to match what we're feeling?
And we definitely had that challenge too, because he lived an hour away. And I sort of had this idea that he was going to move up to where I live. I'd lived there for decades. I knew thousands of people. I was very happy and comfortable there. And he's like, I have a private practice. I see clients all day, every day. And driving back and forth is not going to work for me. So to my horror, I realized I'm going to have to move down to this home in the woods where I didn't even have a car or know anybody. And it was very challenging that first year, I'll just say.
Well, that's that. Yeah. And I'm so glad you brought that into the conversation, because I think people have a very romantic idea of what a soulmate is, and that it's all stars and rainbows and that everything unfolds easily. And in my experience, very often you have to confront some deep stuff and
Yes.
face some deep challenges to actually be with this person. So like
Absolutely.
you know, and because I met a soulmate earlier in life,
Mhm.
and it was incredible, the experience of our connection,
Mm.
but our lives didn't mesh. And
Mhm.
I had this realization in meditation one day where it's like, you can meet your soulmate, but it doesn't always mean you're supposed to be with them this time.
Right, right.
And
Actually, I
so
got
it was
tingles when you
this,
said that. Yeah.
I know, I did too. I just like
Yeah.
got tingly all over.
Yeah.
But it was very, very painful to
Mm.
realize that this person with whom I had so much connection and so much
Mhm.
depth and so much magic
Mhm.
was not the person I could be with
Yeah.
in this 3D world.
Right.
Like we got to meet, we got to taste the thing we had, but a
Mhm.
relationship wasn't, a long-term relationship
Yeah.
wasn't in the cards for us.
Right.
So, you know, I'm so glad you brought in that part of having to
Yeah.
do something really hard to
Yes.
have it,
Yeah.
because in my experience, that's often the case.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, basically, the really hard thing was I had to just confront so much. I mean, so much because I didn't want. First of all, I didn't want to tell anybody in my old community that I was miserable because my Mark was away for long hours. He was working a lot, and weekends he would go skiing. I didn't know how to ski, so he was gone a lot, and I was alone in this house. And I started getting more and more upset and more filled with fear. Which there's a whole story behind. I realized it wasn't really my fear, but at any rate, it was. And I actually made myself physically ill. I mean, I felt so bad and so lonely and so cut off from everything that I made myself sick enough. I got an infection, I had to go to the hospital. And
Wow.
that's the power actually of being aligned with what you don't want, which strangely enough, many people are.
Same. I mean,
Yeah.
before I got divorced, I made myself physically ill too.
Yeah. How
And
about that?
how about that? You know, it's just, I mean, the body is such an incredible teacher, but,
Yeah.
and in my case, it was just really, I had this dream of marriage and, you know, forever and the thing. And my body was trying to tell me, like, you're not happy. Like, and my ex-husband and I were great friends, and
Yeah.
we also separated amicably. I mean, I just hear so many parallels in your story.
Yeah.
But there was a point where I realized, as wonderful as our marriage was in a lot of ways, it wasn't the right fit. He just wasn't, you know, for long term. Like our arc was coming to an end.
Yes.
And I wasn't willing to hear that. So I was getting sicker and sicker and sicker.
Oh God, right? I so can relate. Yeah. Yeah, it was so painful. My former husband, Brian, and I, we actually went to marriage counseling for the last like 3 weeks of our marriage. And I remember the counselor at one point asked him, so he asked me first, what do you want? I said, I want deep intimacy. And then he asked Brian, what do you want? There was this long pause. And then Brian said, I want you to be with someone else. And I didn't realize I was waiting for permission. I mean, we hugged each other, we laughed, we cried. It was like, thank God, it's finally clear. Like I didn't realize I was waiting for permission it was so hard.
So deep. Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So if someone listening is aware of wanting to get ready, I mean, I have a whole program devoted to this. Like
getting ready is a thing. Yes.
Getting ready is a thing. You know, my Relationship Ready program is all about that. And I had you come in and teach a whole self-forgiveness, not just self-forgiveness.
Right. Yeah.
Right. That was that program where you taught a forgiveness chunk of it that I still is available in the program.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how does someone, first of all, even be aware enough to know that they're not fully ready? I think most of us exist up here in the mind, like I want.
Right. Well, I'll tell you, there's very obvious signals when you're not ready. So that's not rocket science. If you're not ready, you're not meeting the right people. You're not feeling like, you're not feeling good about yourself. Maybe like I really should lose a certain amount of weight before I do this, or whatever it is. Like if you have anything that's in the way, it's not hidden. It's actually pretty obvious.
Yeah, like this can be your conditions, right? Like your
exactly. Like there's
like they have to be this, that, and the other thing for me. Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes there's more subtle things going on too. And I actually have a gift for your listeners, which is my soul alignment assessment. And the assessment, at least in the language that it talks about on the page, just talks about work or your career or whatever, but it absolutely can work too for your relationship. What do you need to be aligned with being ready to receive the person of your dreams, really? And that's, so the assessment is going to help you zero in on exactly what you need. So
that link is below in the show notes. So make sure you all check that out.
Yeah. It's just a powerful, simple process. I teach you how to tap into your own deep inner yes and no, and then how to use that information to identify precisely what you need for you to be ready to receive that soulmate.
That's so hot. I love that.
Yeah, I'm glad. Yeah.
No,
it's a good thing. I mean, there's so much I could say about this topic because to me, relationship has been a really incredibly powerful force for personal growth, because it's so darn confronting sometimes.
It brings up our deepest stuff.
It sure does. Yeah. And anyway, can I say a little more?
So that's please.
I'm feeling just there's so much to share, but so the process with Mark, actually, when I got myself so sick, I went to the hospital. When I came out of it, I had this really interesting experience because I was so angry at him for being away a lot. At the same time, I loved him so much, and he kept telling me.
This is Brian, right?
And this is Mark, actually, my current husband. Yeah.
Oh, the current husband. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry to be confusing about that, but So and Mark was a Buddhist, and he kept telling me, you know what, suffering is optional. You really don't have to suffer. And I'm like,
seriously, when you feel that way, that is such a bypass. It is a fuck you.
Yeah, but he really is a very wise man, and he was holding space for me to see this for myself. And I had glimpses of it. Like I remember one night, after crying myself to sleep, and he was next to me. I looked at him, and I was like, how can you sleep through me being so upset? And she was, and then I just really looked at him, and I was like, oh my God, I love this man so much. And I just, oh my God, I just adore him. And I curled up next to him. I felt this peace descend, and I slept so deeply. It was, so I'd have moments like that where I'd go from the terror and dark night of the soul place I was in to just like peace and love and forgiveness and just total connection. And it was really, Mark was giving me, there were a lot of books he had about awakening, which I didn't realize was the thing. And I was reading a lot of them. And there came a day when he was gone, and it was early, very early spring, like still snow on the ground. And I spent a lot of my time just by myself on snowshoes, walking around the property. Like didn't talk to anybody. I was much too proud to tell my friends I needed help, because I went off to be with my soulmate. Everything's great.
Everything's great. Right.
Although I did finally start talking to some of them, and they really helped me a lot because they were deep healers. So I remember this one day, I just was lying on the snow, and I was just like, I could fall off the face of the earth and nobody would know or care. That was my little sob story. And I just decided, like, well, what if I just let go right now? And I imagined myself on the bottom of the earth and just like falling off into space. And then all of a sudden I could really hear, like my ears had been cleared out, and I could hear, like, there's this running water not far away in the woods. I could hear these little peeping sounds, which I realized later were these very first frogs. And there's the wind coming across my face, and the smells of the wet, cool, dark earth underneath the snow and the first bits of spring. I was like, oh my God, like, this is real. Everything else I was telling myself is not real. This is what it means to say suffering is optional. It's like, I had an awakening, a really powerful one.
That's so gorgeous. And I think nature is such it's a place that facilitates that kind of awakening, because when we can get out of our heads and actually see and feel the world around us, it's a fucking miracle. Like, it is. I've had moments. There was a moment when there was a night I was shooting the eclipse. I was up all night with a couple of other photographers. We were out shooting a lunar eclipse that was like literally going across the sky.
Wow. Wow.
We got there about 1:30 in the morning and left about 7. And there was a moment in the night when everything was quiet. The moon, the eclipse was moving across, and I had the distinct awareness or experience of us being on a planet rotating in space, and there's these other planets, all over, and these galaxies, and just there was this expanded awareness of the
just feel the
enormity,
huge expansion.
yeah, the hugeness and the vastness of that, and the tininess of me and my, and it changed me forever.
Yeah.
And it's those moments when we allow nature to penetrate like that, where it's like, oh,
right, so much bigger than our little heads.
yeah. So thank you for bringing that piece in, because I think that's also part of becoming aligned, is recognizing that the stuff we think about and our blockages and things, like, they matter. We need to tend to them. We need to love ourselves enough to care. And they're also like really small in the big scheme of things. And they get really big. It's a both and. And so thank you for bringing in that nature piece, because it's so key to get out in nature and forget yourself sometimes.
Exactly. That's what there's different ways we can get out of our own heads, but that's a reliable way always. It's just more real than the stories we're telling ourselves.
Exactly. So do you have another suggestion you want to, like a final suggestion you want to leave folks with?
I would say that you already know on a deep level whether you're ready or not, with what you want. It's like all the things that you question all the time, you actually know on a deep level already. You're just scared to claim them.
It's so true.
Yeah. So I would leave you with that. And if you're interested in the soul alignment assessment, which helps you tap into your deep yes and no, so you can determine exactly what inner work you need to be truly ready. And by the way, you don't have to be perfect. Like when I met Mark, I was great at loving unconditionally. I was not great at receiving unconditional love. Like when he would pour it into me, I would start to cry and I'd feel uncomfortable. Like I couldn't feel like I could receive it fully. And he really helped me heal that by just saying, we're on the same team, because for a long time I felt like Brian and I were on different teams, and it was a battle. And Mark kept saying, we are on the same team no matter what. And it somehow helped me to receive this unconditional love, which came with all kinds of other gifts, including sex like out of this world that I've never had before with anybody.
I'm so glad. And I think the two are connected, because when there's a difficulty in receiving, right? And as women, we receive people into our bodies often in sex. There's a penetrative aspect to it if we're doing that. And I think the metaphor holds where there's a difficulty in receiving love. There can be a difficulty in being fully present, to allowing ourselves to be opened and penetrated and receive and let go. Yeah,
to really let go to that degree that we really let all that come in. It actually takes something from us, people. Like you have to let go of being guarded, let go of any insecurities, let
go of worrying how you look.
Exactly. Like forget that. Yeah. It's funny, because the thing I was telling myself, in addition to I want deep intimacy, is I had a little saying about who I was looking for. And I wanted a man, I said, it was a master of wisdom and kindness, and a master in his work, and a tantric master in bed. I didn't even know what that meant. Mark literally had studied Tantra. What are the odds?
My God.
What are the odds?
Oh my God.
And he really mastered it.
Yeah, that is so beautiful. And I love, I want to just highlight that same team piece, because I have other podcast episodes where I talk about being on the same team. And I think even Patrick and I have done a podcast together about being on the same team, because that's not something I knew either. And it's not a default expectation that I had, because I never saw it before. So, from my family of origin or whatever. So for me to have Patrick saying, same team, we're on the same team here. I don't know, you're reacting as if I'm your adversary.
Oh, it's so good.
And we really did a lot of work around that.
Yeah. Because it's really in my experience, the inner wounded child who's like, I can't believe I'm not on my own. Like that you want to be with me, and that you care about me, even with all my ugliness and my snotty nose and tears and like all of that. You still want me, really?
What? Impossible. Yeah, exactly. But it's so powerful, and that's one of the things Patrick and I also teach is like, I mean, when we're having an argument, literally one of us will stop, whoever is more conscious still in the moment.
Yes, exactly.
Whoever hasn't totally lost access to their conscious mind, the one who's still,
Yes. Yes.
we'll pause the argument and be like, whoa, 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 same team.
Yeah. Oh, it's such a beautiful thing. It's
and
so
it just
simple.
shifts the energy immediately. Like, how would we look at this issue if we started from being on the same team?
Yeah. Yeah.
How would things change in
It's
our
beautiful.
conversation? And then it's a total pattern interrupt.
Right. Exactly. Because it just gets you out of the ego. The ego is really thinks I've got to do it all myself, basically. Like I'm in this alone. Nobody really can help me. Blah, blah, blah.
And I've got to win or I'll die.
Exactly. Win or die is very much the ego's realm. That's what made practicing letting love win so challenging, because it meant feeling like I was totally losing and giving up, but actually the other side of that is the real win, which is that we are all on the same team. We are.
And we get to feel deep love and connection and intimacy.
Yeah.
Oh, so beautiful. Thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, it's such a joy, really.
I just love talking with you always.
Me too.
So check out, links to Pamela's work are down below in the show notes, and you can find all these different ways to connect with her. The assessment link, the soul alignment assessment link, is in the show notes. And thank you again for coming. And for all of you listening, remember, until next time, that a great relationship starts with you.
Exactly. Lovely. It's so good.